Welcome to the regular meeting of the Forsyth County Board of Commissioners. We will have a meeting, and following the meeting, we will have a briefing for the next meeting of the Commissioners. And I like to say, all on our places with sunshiny faces today, and that is a fact. All of us went to the State Association of County Commissioners a couple of weeks ago and came back about a week ago with COVID-19. All of us have so far recovered. I say so far because you never really know about these things, but you'll notice I'm wearing a mask, so in case somebody wants to talk close up, you're safe, at least at this point. We have a lot on the agenda today, just as the regular meeting, and we also have quite a bit going for us for the briefing session, so we will be here for a while. And by the way, if you have any problems or needs and you have any questions about what's going on, Ashley Sloop, who is to my far right, back to the wall, is the clerk to the county commissioners, and she is always available to answer any questions about the problems, needs, and interests of what's going on. Well, let's begin the meeting, and I'll turn the meeting over to our county manager, Dudley Watts.
And I'll probably turn it right back over to our Vice Chairman, Don Martins.
You're right.
Well, thank you, Chairman Plyler and County Manager Watts. Thank you. We're going to begin our meeting today with an invocation from Pastor Robert Hutchins, Pastor, Faith and Family Baptist Church, and it'll be followed by the Pledge of Allegiance led by Commissioner Ellen Mean. Pastor Hutchins, please come up and please stand if you are able.
Heavenly Father, I count it a great privilege to come before the County Commissioners meeting today to enter into your presence with thanksgiving and into your courts with praise. You've been good to us. You've been good to this county. And Father, we have a lot of problems. And the chairman just said there's a lot on the agenda today. And each member of this board needs wisdom. And there's only one place to get wisdom, and that's from you. Lord, we know that in our county there's a lot of needs. Lord, I'm personally acquainted with someone that just recently in this county took their life. And we know there's other people contemplating suicide or may even attempt it today. We have issues with mental health. We have issues with crime, drug use, all types of things. And Lord, we know our law enforcement is understaffed. So I want to lift up to you our sheriff and all of his deputies, each one that works in our county jail. I want to pray for our police chief and our police department, all of our paramedics and all the fire department. Dear God, there's so many that need you, Lord. And this board today, with the affairs of this county that they have to make decisions on, may they look to you, Lord, what would glorify you, what would be in the best interest of the people. And then, Father, I think, too, today, it would certainly be appropriate if we just took time and just thank you for your goodness. Thank you that we can come to you in the name of your Son and offer this prayer and ask you to bless this county and all the needs that we have. Dear God, we ask you for those in the hospitals, nursing homes, on and on it goes. Young people going back to school next week, open houses. The teachers need you, Lord God. The principals need you. We need wisdom. We need safety from those that Satan would send in to harm our children. God, we just offer all this prayer up to you, pleading the blood of Jesus Christ, your Son. Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Pastor Hutchins. Any citizens who are interested in participating in the public session portion of the meeting, please call 336-422-1200. That's 336-422-1200. You will be placed on hold until the public session begins. Members of the audience who are interested in participating in the public session of the portion of the meeting, please fill out a speaker card and return to the clerk if you've not done already. She is going back to her seat at the moment. And we're going to begin our meeting with an update from our Joshua Swift, our Public Health Director, on a COVID-19 update. And Joshua, I think you're online. You're online. Thank you.
Yes. Thank you, Commissioners. I hope you can see the presentation that's coming up. So this is our COVID update, and then I have one slide on monkeypox at the end. So this is the update for today, the 25th. Last 14 days, our cases have decreased by 16% in Forsyth County. These are the lab-confirmed cases that we know about. So these cases, this is what we're seeing across North Carolina and the U.S. as far as lab-confirmed cases. Our hospitalizations have actually went down. We were at 38 2 weeks ago, so we have went down over the last few weeks. Across the state and nation, they're seeing a slight uptick in the number of hospitalizations related to COVID. This next slide shows a snapshot of the last 6.5 months. You can see on the far left, in early February, that's when we were coming off of the Omicron surge. We got to a low in March, but you can see since early May, early to mid-May, we've been in the 800 to 1,000 cases per week. We had 809 cases the week of August the 14th. But just like Chairman Plyler stated with some of the commissioners with COVID, I don't know how many of you all did at-home tests or not, but I know lots of individuals that have tested positive for COVID, but it was an at-home test. So those are not included in these figures. So I do believe that for every one that you see on this page, there's probably 5 or 6 that are positive that we don't know about because thankfully we have at-home testing that is widely available. So persons can do that themselves and isolate until they're close contacts to be aware. So I will share this next slide. This is interesting data that the state has put together from municipalities across the state, and this is for Winston-Salem. This is looking at wastewater. This is sampling that's been going on for over a year now, but you can see the linear trend. The top chart is our wastewater samples and the amount of COVID virus in the wastewater, and you can see that that has continued to increase over the last few months. Not a sharp increase, but it has increased to show that there is, in fact, definitely COVID is circulating and it is increasing over time. Then the bottom chart shows really a snapshot of what I just showed you, the number of cases that are lab confirmed. So looking at the same area, it's not all of Forsyth County. This is just in Winston-Salem, certain area covering about 170,000 residents. But you can see while the confirmed positive cases has went down, what's in the sewer and the wastewater has continued to increase. Not drastically, but a steady increase. So we all are waiting for new boosters. That's the fall booster will be a bivalent vaccine. That means it's going to have 2 variants in it. It's going to cover 2 variants. This is something that we see. Your normal flu shot now has 3 variants in it. So this is nothing new. This will have the original Wuhan virus plus Omicron BA.5. And earlier this week, Pfizer and Moderna both submitted their emergency use or EUA applications to the FDA. So we're awaiting guidance there. The state has asked for public health departments to place orders. We've already placed that. I think realistically it will be late September, early October before this new booster is available. We know that the CDC's ACIP, their committee, is meeting next week to talk about this. And I am hopeful that this new booster is going to offer better protection, a longer protection, and really a broader protection for the community, much like you get an annual flu shot for that protection for the cold and flu season. And I think the last thing is just that, what people can do. One, as I said, make sure you have that at-home test kit because that allows you to get those results in as little as 15 minutes. They're available at all of our library branches. They're available at the health department, and now they're available at the government center on the first floor. Also, get your booster if you're over 50. I would, encourage people, depending on your health status, to go ahead and get that booster. We don't know for sure how long it will be before we get that new booster, and also encourage people to wear masks indoors for added protection. That's a personal decision, but definitely as we're seeing more cases, it does offer that protection. But obviously, the first order would be make sure you're up to date on vaccines and have the boosters that you're able to get. But the masking does offer protection. And the last, just a brief update with monkeypox. We've had 16,603 cases in the U.S., 282 in North Carolina, and now, last week we had our first 2 cases. Since then, we've had 7 more, so we've had a total of 9 cases in Forsyth County. I will want to make a point on this 4th bullet. We are giving the vaccine now 5 days a week at the health department, but people are coming back to get their second doses, but we are having a matter of our inventory. We get the inventory from the state, who gets it from the federal government. So we are not at this time able to make any new appointments. We're able to honor those first dose appointments and also give people their second doses that are now due to come back. But we have put in a special request. I was on a phone call with a state epidemiologist earlier this week, stating the case that we need more vaccine here. We are doing the intradermal, which allows us to, instead of early on we did 1 dose per vial, now we're able to do 5 doses per vial. That was something that FDA and CDC approved last week, and we implemented starting this Monday. But we do need more vaccine. We're still, but we're giving the vaccine that we have that's available, but we're not able to make any new appointments at this time. So I know that was a brief slide on monkeypox, also information about COVID, but I'd be happy to take any questions. And last but not least, I would just say I want to thank the public health staff who've been working hard 2.5 years, and just the community and they're just doing, it's a yeoman's task, and then having this next wave, this next illness on top of that. They're tired, but we're up to the challenge. But we're also looking forward to the Labor Day, have a little bit of a respite, and as we move into the fall. Thank you.
Any questions for Joshua?
I do, Vice Chairman. Joshua, this is Commissioner McDaniel. I do have a question relative to the monkeypox. Is there any recommendations made from the CDC relative to the isolation periods for monkeypox if you've been diagnosed?
Yeah, there is. I don't have that exact date of that period. As soon as someone is diagnosed with monkeypox, just like we did in the early days of COVID, we're reaching out to that individual and then finding out, exposures, doing contact tracing, and also offering that guidance about isolation.
So what I'm trying to clarify is that if those individuals have been diagnosed with monkeypox, is there a statute that they have to stay home for 5 or 10 days and should not be exposed to regular public, or what does that look like?
Yeah, I mean, we are, from a legal perspective, I would have to, we would have to look at the statutes more closely. Right now, what we're doing is we're, just like with COVID, we're advising people to stay home and to not be around others, to isolate.
Okay, thank you. Once you find that out, if you could let me know, I'd greatly appreciate it. Thanks, Vice Chairman.
Mm-hmm.
Other questions for Joshua? As always, thank you for your now twice a month report. I was thinking for many, actually a year and a half, it was every week. So we've had a lot of reports, and we appreciate you looking out after the entire community and communicating on a regular basis with the media and us. So thank you to Joshua and your staff.
Thank you.
All righty. The first item on the agenda is a zoning request of RS Parker Development LLC from YR AG and RS 30 to YRS, RS 15S, and RMS S. The public hearing for this item was opened and closed on August the 4th, 2022. And today we postponed for a 3-week period. I'll ask Mr. Chris Murphy if he'd just give us another quick review, and we'll see if our questions have been answered from 3 weeks ago.
Good afternoon, Mr. Chairman, Mr. Vice Chairman, members of the County Commissioners. Yes, we've briefed this item on several occasions as well as held a public hearing, but this is a rezoning request for approximately 319 acres on the west side of Idols Road, south of Mallard Trail. Again, from YRAG and RS30 to YRS, RS15S, and RM5S for a 537-unit single-family and townhome project. This is the subject property on Legacy Growth Management Area Plan located on the edge of GMA 4 and 5. This is the subject property highlighted in yellow, again on the west side of Idols Road. Subject property outlined in yellow on the countywide aerial photos located on the west side of Idols, just south of Tanglewood Park and the Tanglewood Golf Course. This is the subject property looking from Idols. This is looking north on Idols Road. This is looking at Tanglewood Golf Course from interior to the site. This is the overall site plan. Again, got a RM5 townhome cluster of units up close to Idols Road as you enter the main entrance on the right, and then you transition to the left and you get to single-family homes with open space interspersed throughout. And the floodplain area left as undisturbed buffer to the west-southwest. This is just kind of zooming in on those different areas of the site plan. During your June and July briefings, there were concerns expressed about how this project relates to Tanglewood and making sure that Tanglewood was protected from folks accidentally wandering onto the golf course, coming onto the golf course for exercise, etc. This item was continued so the petitioner could address those concerns, and the developer did have discussions with county management and park staff to consider options to revise the site plan to include a larger buffer and other treatments between Tanglewood and the subject property, including a NCDOT style right-of-way fence, a brick wall, in some other areas to provide both a barrier and a visual obstruction. There were some potential added conditions that have been signed and agreed to by the petitioner in their consent to written conditions proffer. Those conditions are security fencing, buffering, and spacing between the subject property and the county-owned Tanglewood Park shall be in substantial conformity with the attached exhibits entitled, and I won't go into what they're actually called. And again, the petitioner also recognizes that the subject property is located next to a public park that hosts special events that can include significant traffic, event and vehicle noise, and event lighting, and further recognizes that there are nuisances associated with the adjacent golf courses, including potential property damage and hazards from errant golf shots. As such, the current and future owners of the real property, both development lots and common open spaces and amenities, acknowledge the same and will make allowances for such without demanding future redress from Forsyth County. Again, those conditions have been added to the written consent to conditions that are before you. This is just kind of what those treatments will look like. You've got some enhanced buffering and again some walls and fences and some other things that we have discussed in the past, so I'm not going to go into those in detail. That's just what the fence and the brick wall would look like. There's some landscaping cross sections that were also included that kind of show what those will look like in some various areas adjacent to the exit for the Festival of Lights, adjacent to Idols Road, adjacent to the golf course, and that's just what these different images are here. Again, we covered that in prior briefings and also went over that at your public hearing held on August 4th. In summary, with access to public sewer, Legacy recommends that GMA 4 areas, which are known as future growth areas, be treated as GMA 3 areas, which are suburban neighborhoods, and authorize the utilization of GMA 3 recommended densities of 0 to 8 units per acre. The request will increase the variety of housing types in the area, which is a stated goal of Legacy. A large percentage of the site is left undisturbed or proposed as undeveloped open space. Again, the developer has worked to provide enhanced transitions and security fencing along the perimeter with Tanglewood Park. This was heard by the Planning Board at their May 12th, 2022 public hearing. There were speakers in opposition. The concerns did center around incompatible density, traffic concerns, stormwater concerns, and cut-through traffic and congestion on Middlebrook Drive. The Planning Board heard that and did vote 6-3 to recommend approval of this request to the County Commissioners. and the site plan does meet all UDO requirements. And with that, I'll be glad to answer any questions that the commissioners may have.
Mr. Vice Chairman, I have one, maybe more. Clarify something for me, and it may for others too. Currently, is the Yadkin River zone, is it separate from the 100-year floodplain area?
Yes,
It is separate.
it is separate and apart from the 100-year floodplain. In this case, for this particular property, the 100-year floodplain lies inside the YR, but does not come all the way to the edge of the YR district, if that makes sense. I can read to you exactly.
Well, go back to that, whatever else you got there. That one of the first or second shots, pictures you showed when you started. It gives it's in our packet, but it don't have a page number on it.
Yeah, I'm getting there. I think I know what you're wanting.
Right there.
Correct.
Yeah.
The area that is shown on the far west, the western portion, I think you can probably see my mouse. This is the edge of the 100-year floodplain. This solid line here is the edge of the YR. So there's a substantial portion of the YR that's not located within the 100-year floodplain.
Okay, well, more specifically, is any of the floodplain area, that 100-foot, that's, is it 5? No, it's 100-year, I don't know what the distance is. Is any of that's in the 100-year floodplain used as credit?
All of the area is used as credit, but there's no development within it.
So the 100-year flood area is also used for additional credits, density.
It's not, I mean, they don't get anything above and beyond, but anything located in the floodplain is still considered usable for a density standpoint.
Okay, so to try to get to the particular point I'm looking for is there any more credits given for the YR area than currently can be used for building?
No. The density is calculated in the YR acreage is, I want to say, around 170 acres, I think. And the density, the credit that they're getting under the proposed YRS is the same that they get under the YR.
But as currently zoned, a dwelling can be put on 3 acres, but a dwelling could not be put within that 100-year floodplain. Is that right?
That's correct. But again, just like this project is taking advantage of a provision in the ordinance for planned residential development that allows you to cluster development in areas appropriate for development, that's what you could do under a straight YR subdivision. You could still get your density, but you would cluster it in areas outside of the floodplain. And that's what they've done here.
Well, with what you're saying then, there is no more credits given in what's being requested than what can be put in the YR currently.
Correct.
Okay, that's all I have for the moment.
I just 2 quick comments. In fact, I made the motion to delay for the 3 weeks, and I had sort of 2 issues. One of which was during the public hearing, we talked about some tree issues with the sewer construction next to some existing property owners. And I was going to ask about that today, but I actually got an email literally this morning from the families that were here. And they said they had met with a developer and had resolved all that and felt like they felt good about it and were very appreciative. So I think that issue I had is satisfied. And the other issue was some of the traffic parts that we've had. There was going to be a meeting between the DOT folks and the Village of Clemens. That did take place. And after reading a number of, I've read all the information, particularly a lot of the village council sent over, I actually was able to speak for about 25 minutes this morning with Pat Ivey, the regional director of Region 9, and it was kind of followed up on a conversation we had back in July. And I felt very good about that conversation, and essentially that if this were to be approved, basically one of the key intersections that was examined and discussed, which is where 158 meets Middlebrook and Louisville Clemens Road, that if this were approved and now it's a part of the kind of the plan, then essentially DOT goes, before they do anything, they go back to Clemens, say we need to collect more data. They've collected some of theirs. They'll have their traffic people look at it. And the worst case is that it may delay the Louisville Clemens Road project by a few months, or he said for whatever it takes to do that, but that would be taken, any additional traffic would be taken into account in looking at that intersection. And to the extent possible, it could be done, the budget and so forth. And I feel good about that. And then we talked a little bit more about sort of the long-term 10-year build-out, what's happening with the bypass, and also what could happen with commercial development off of basically Idles Road extension. So it was a good conversation, and I always appreciate his responsiveness, and he's done a great job in this region for all of us. So my questions at this point are answered. Are there any other questions of Chris about this?
Mr. Vice Chair, I'd like to offer a motion.
Please.
Motion to approve zoning map amendment F-1617 and statement of consistency and comprehensive plan. I move that the zoning map amendment F-1617, including site plan and special use district, be approved on the basis of the following. The proposed special use zoning map amendment as petitioned by R.S. Parker Development, LLC, to rezone a 318.99 acre piece of property from YR, AG, and RS30 to YR, S, RS15S, and RM5S, which uses as set forth in the ordinance, is consistent with the recommendations of the Legacy Comprehensive Plan and reasonable or in the public interest because, number one, the subject property, an agriculture site with a few single-family residents located on the south side of Tanglewood Park, with addresses of 7660 Riverbrook Trail, 4015 Fox Park Drive, and 4025 Fox Park Drive, is currently zoned YR, AG, and RS30, and is adjacent to property zone IP, YR, RS30, and GI, with adjacent uses for golf club, parkland, low-density residential, agriculture, and utilities infrastructure. Number two, YR zoning is intended to protect the water supply, historic features, and natural beauty along the Yadkin River, with the primary use being low-density residential. RS15 zoning is primarily intended to accommodate low to moderate in density single-family housing in suburban and urban areas in Growth Management Area 2 and 3, and where public facilities, including public water and sewer, are available. And RS5 zoning is primarily intended to accommodate low-density, pedestrian-oriented sites and community containing duplex, twin homes, townhomes, and multifamily resident with overall density of 5 residents per acre in Growth Management Area 2 and 3, and where public facilities, including public water and sewer, are available. Number 3, the proposed site plan features the construction of 537 residents consisting of 399 single-family residents and 138 townhomes with an overall density of 1.5 units per acre. Number 4, the site has access to public water, and the proposed privately owned sewer lines and lift station will convey sewage to the public sewer system, which can be accessed from the site. 5, The subject property is located in growth management areas 4 and 5, but they may be considered for more intense uses because of the availability of public water and sewer. And the proposed use is consistent with adjacent zoning and residential uses. Number 6, Forsyth County strongly encourages the petitioner to confer with Winston-Salem Forsyth County Utilities regarding the site's sewer and water infrastructure, and to construct this infrastructure in such a manner that would allow the Winston-Salem Forsyth County Utility Commission to accept ownership of the infrastructure once completed.
Second the motion.
Is there a second?
Second.
Oh, excuse me, sorry, Chairman Plyler. So we have a motion by Commissioner Wizenhunt, second by Chairman Plyler. Any further discussion? All in favor, please raise your right hand. Those opposed, I see none. Motion carries unanimously. The next item on the agenda is the approval of minutes for the meeting of August the 4th, 2022. Do I have a motion?
Move approval.
Motion by Chairman Plyler, second by Commissioner Elamine. Any discussion? All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Motion carries unanimously. Madam Clerk, do we have any calls or cards for the public session?
Mr. Vice Chairman, we don't have any calls, but we have 5 speaker cards.
Thank you.
Our first speaker will be Gene Gustafson. Please come forward. State your name and address for the record.
My name is Gene Gustafson. My address is 5150 Doc Davis Road outside Clemens. And Doc Davis Road intersects with Idle Road. And Idle Road, of course, goes in front of the subdivision that you just discussed. And if it pleased the members of the board, after 40 years, I retired as an attorney that was a district attorney, a county attorney, a DOT attorney, and an attorney general. And you've already decided on the issue that I came to comment on and approve the development. And so I'm not going to bother you with my comments that I came with to discourage you from approving those. And I would just point out one detail, because I printed out your notice of hearing, which stated that if persons were interested in addressing or commenting on a topic before the board, that they got a card and they could comment. And I would just say that it's kind of counterintuitive to say people could comment on a matter before you after you've taken your vote and approved it. And in my experience, presiding over hearings like this, advising on these hearings and everything, I much rather address my comments to the ultimate decision board, which you are, rather than the zoning board, which makes a recommendation to you. So I just want to thank you for your time and give you that comment, just maybe to revise your notice that would say that the comment's going to take place after the decision is made. But thank you very much.
Thank you.
Edgar Miller, please come forward. State your name and address for the record.
Good afternoon. I'm Edgar Miller. I'm the Executive Director and Riverkeeper for the Yadkin Riverkeeper. Similar to Mr. Gustafson's comments, I had hoped we would be able to make some comments before this. I realized we missed the public hearing a few weeks ago, and I'm sorry we were not fully in the loop on that at that point. But one of our major priorities is to protect river buffers along the Yadkin and its tributaries. We are seeing increased sediment and nutrient pollution in the river that is currently threatening drinking water supplies. In fact, Davison Water's number one concern is the actual sedimentation load coming into their water facility about 14 miles downstream from this site. And we're also concerned about the nutrients and bacteria that come with that pollution that lead to more harmful algal blooms and limit the recreational use of our lakes like High Rock Lake. And we're concerned about the loss of productive farmland. Forsyth County has lost 14% of its farmland from 2012 to 2017. And the new ag census statistics that will be coming out later this year are probably going to show even greater loss of farmland. Obviously, we are strongly opposed to this rezoning project, and we will continue to monitor the situation and ensure all the environmental permits are in place. I'm afraid we don't share the Commission's confidence that the current state and local regulatory agencies for sedimentation and erosion control and stormwater runoff can get the job done. Just look at Weaver Fertilizer, look at Smith Reynolds Airport, look at the situation with the new football stadium at Reynolds High School. Everyone's saying, no, that's not my job. It's their job. No, it's their job. So we need to get a handle on that. I know, Commissioner Martin, you've expressed some concerns about trying to streamline some of that. And to Commissioner Linville's comments, we feel like this will double the number of housing units that can be placed in the YR zone. Yes, they won't be in the floodplain, but there will be a lift station near there and sewage piping. And just again, this past week, we got another notice from the utilities about another sewer leak in Forsyth County. So that really concerns us as well. You have my written statement, so I know time is limited here this afternoon. So I'll ask you to take a look at that. The Yadkin River is the heart and lifeblood of our region. The entire development of this area has the river has made that possible. But it does not have an endless capacity to absorb pollution from development. And right now, Forsyth County has 6 of the top 10 most stressed watersheds in our entire 7,200 square mile watershed. So I just want you to think about that going forward. And we look forward to working with the county and state and local government agencies to make sure things don't get worse. We are very concerned about the west bend of the river, the historic west bend here in Forsyth County, becoming impaired for a variety of different pollutants. And that's the last thing we need here. So we hope we can work with you all to make sure that doesn't happen. Thank you.
Thank you.
Cornelia Barr, please come forward. State your address for the record, please.
Afternoon. My name is Cornelia Barr. I live at 355 Park Boulevard, and I represent Piedmont Environmental Alliance. I'm also certified as an environmental educator through the Department of Environmental Quality. I've read the zoning petition, and it's clear to anyone who lives in or near a flood zone that the floodplain studies used to assess the impact of high water events, including this development, is outdated. In Forsyth County, we are seeing the dramatic impact of severe weather due to climate change, especially flooding due to hurricane-related rainfall events. Even though we're 4 or more hours from the coast, these events have had a serious impact with us. I'm also involved with the Gateway Nature Preserve, which works to preserve green space and wildlife habitat in South Winston-Salem along Salem Creek. We have seen that 100-year flood events are no longer a rarity, they've become the norm. Since 2018, Gateway has documented 1 or 2 flooding events that reach or exceed the 100-year flood line every year. This has caused Gateway to alter its building plans to limit damage. If 100-year floods occur yearly, every few years we are seeing so-called 500-year floods, which is going to definitely affect the residential, the developed area of this plan. For the Riverwood developer to base decisions on data we know is no longer accurate is irresponsible to the future homeowners of houses built in this flood-prone area. It also ignores the fact that floodplains play an important role in environmental stability by absorbing heavy rainfall, thus reducing flood risk and filtering pollutants in runoff before they end up in the Yadkin River, as Mr. Miller referenced. And pollutants bring up another point. The site plan does have a buffer along the Yadkin, but in the event of a high water event, runoff from chemical and fertilizers used on lawn, from the oil and gas on driveways, and from the sewer system will flow into the Yadkin. It will increase pollution of our country's main water source. On behalf of Piedmont Environmental Alliance, I know that this plan has been approved, but I request that implementation of this development be delayed until a realistic floodplain study can be implemented, a floodplain control permit has been approved, and an erosion plan is in place. This will ensure the safety of future homeowners and serve to protect our region's environmental quality as well. Thank you.
Thank you.
Alan Daniel, please come forward and state your address for the record.
Alan Daniel, 100 Fernworth Court in Clemens. Again, express my displeasure at not being able to speak before the decision was made. You have basically voted to approve the devastation of my neighborhood. I live in Clemens West, 800 homes, the largest single-family dwelling neighborhood in Forsyth County. This development will put, when completed, 4,000 cars a day going down Idles Road and up Middlebrook Drive. There are no plans, according to the NCDOT, to improve Idles Road or Middlebrook Drive in the next 10 years. If you want to know what that's going to look like, try driving out Meadowlark Drive Monday morning at 7 o'clock. They overbuilt it, then once the road got unable to handle the traffic, they closed one lane to widen it. Whatever property revenue you all reap from this, I would suggest that you put some aside to handle the lawsuits that are going to come from our neighborhood and from the people who live there. And I'll make you a promise that I made you when you talked about the industrial park. This will lead to Clemens West becoming Moravian Heights South. Tax values will go down, properties will become rental because nobody wants to live in an area where you've got 4,000 cars a day going around the corner of your house and through our neighborhood, which a lot of those cars do, at about 55 miles an hour in a 25 zone. Y'all don't really care. You took care of Tanglewood. You took care of your property. You're not doing anything to take care of the people who vote for you. So you all helped me make a decision today. I'm not voting for any of you. You all have voted today to devastate Southwest Forsyth County irreparably. All that pollution they're talking about going in the Yadkin River, the Yadkin River now comes into our neighborhood. Johnson Creek does not flow into the Yadkin River during a stormwater event. The Yadkin River flows up Johnson Creek into our neighborhood. It's washed away a man's lawnmower in his shed. His shed and lawnmower ended up in Tanglewood Park when the water receded. Yes, it recedes quickly. But tell that to the gentleman who lives in Waterford who got 8 feet of water in his basement. It receded about as quickly as it rose and left him with tens of thousands of dollars in damage. That's what you've done. I don't have a dog in this fight as far as flooding because I'm 70 feet above it. But my property values will be devastated. My neighborhood will be devastated. The quality of life in Clemens will be devastated. But it's money in the bank, right? I agree that everyone has a right to use their property as they choose, but not to the detriment of the people that have been there for 40 years. Thank you.
Thank you.
Monica Molina, please come forward and state your address for the record.
Monica Molina, I just purchased property on 7660 Riverbrook Trail, and I just found out about this last night, or I would have loved to have come to all the meetings. I'm sorry I'm a bit emotional because I thought I was buying my dream home. We bought it with 3 acres. We haven't officially moved in yet. I haven't met any of the neighbors. One of my girlfriends called me last night and told me she just read about this in the paper, the Winston Journal, and found an article. So I haven't even had time to really process it yet. And I'm not trying to be selfish because I know I see there are many other people who are very upset, but I'm I'm a rational person too, and I understand about, everyone has their rights and everyone does deserve to make money, and they bought the property. And I just feel like these bigger, massive builds are it's just sad. When I know that's a lot of land and it's beautiful and it's right up my back window. And I wish you could bring up the map, sir, if you could, so we could zoom in on my house individually would be awesome, because I thought having 3 acres would be enough to give me privacy. Is it okay? Or
We got 2
because I
minutes.
have a little printout, but it's really little, just to give you perspective. I know you've already made up your minds, and I heard about Tanglewood being taken care of, and I know they're big, so they have a lot of sway and pull, and I'm just one little person. But I don't have a backyard that backs up to that new build. It's maybe 2 car lengths to the, can we zoom in to?
No, I can't.
Oh,
'cause
okay.
it's on-
I mean, I can pass this around just because I want you to see.
Oh, there
That,
it is.
that's my house right there. If there's any way, like I heard Mr. Martin say that some other neighbor actually got to talk to the builders or the developers and work out something, I'd like a chance to be able to do that. I didn't know that that's even an option. Just maybe to have more space between my backyard and where they're going to start their building, or like how Tanglewood is getting like a fence, some kind of privacy. I mean, the whole reason I picked that spot, we called it our forever home, was for the privacy. And I'm just not going to have that. I mean, my back door is, it's about as far from this gentleman to you guys is how close they're going to be to me now, because I don't have a backyard. Because of how it's like in a big hole, and my house sits up on the top. So I guess that's where they had to build it because of the way the property lays. So I just don't have a backyard. My driveway just goes up behind the house. So, I'm talking like 2 car lengths from where they're going to build. So I don't know if there's any options for me as just one little person being selfish to have information to be able to talk to the builder or developer and see if maybe they can work out a deal with me like they did with whoever Mr. Martin said that they seemed to be happy with whatever resolution they were able to give them.
They didn't agree to the offer. Yes, they did. Talk to your neighbor.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry.
Actually that neighbor.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
I'm
they
sorry.
have-
I haven't met any of you guys yet, and I'm just like, I'm so emotional because we just
We're so
bought,
sorry for you moving across the
I know. I thought it was my dream home.
Ma'am, your 3 minutes is up. If you
Okay.
could just wrap it up, that'd be great.
They don't care. They want the money. Cecil Hash has paid all these guys.
Sir, you're out of order.
You're not
Thank you.
answering anybody's
Thank you.
questions. You refuse to answer my question. I'm sick of this crap. Y'all are a joke. Yeah, Barney, I'm leaving.
I'm just saying for me as an individual, if I can get any information about the builder so that I could be contacted and maybe get some kind of a further buffer zone, I guess is what they call it, from my backyard to where they're going to start building, I would really just appreciate that, just as an individual alone in the world who doesn't have any pull or sway. Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Vice Chairman, that was our last speaker.
Thank you. Ready to turn the meeting over to our county manager.
Just going to check, just see if we wanted to have a short recess, if any interest by any board members before we jump in.
5 minutes.
Want to do a recess?
5-minute recess.
5 minutes.
Great.
5 minutes. Yep.
Take about a 5-minute recess. Well, our 5-minute recess has come to a close, and we're ready to resume. I'll turn the meeting once again over to our Vice Chairman, Don Martin.
And I'll turn it back over now to our county manager to guide us through the agenda.
All right, very good. So we do have some business items for consideration this afternoon. We have reviewed these in briefing items, hopefully have answered all your questions. I'll go ahead and dive into them. We've got several budget and finance matters. Item 4 is an adoption of the 2023 Housing Grants Project Ordinance. That really is the budget ordinance that guides community and economic development. It's $1,546,405.
Second.
I have a motion by Commissioner Kaplan and a second by Commissioner Elamine. Any discussion? All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries unanimously.
Item 5 is a resolution authorizing submission to the fiscal year 2022-23 Home and Community Care Block Grant County Funding Plan for Older Adults and authorizing the execution of the necessary documents to submit the plan for state approval. It totals out $2,569,465, and it has a myriad of services that really aren't always reflected as us being the provider of those services, but it's things like in-home aid services, senior center operations, counseling, adult daycare, home delivered meals, congregate meals, and medical and general transportation. So a lot of services out in the community.
Second. Second.
Motion approved by Commissioner Kaplan, second by Commissioner Elamine. Any discussion? All in favor, please say aye. Aye. All opposed, motion carries unanimously.
Agenda item 6 is an amendment to the fiscal year 2022-23 budget ordinance that appropriates $10,000 from behavioral health reserve fund balance to support the Never Walk Alone event, and that is there's some excess funding in that behavioral health item, which includes substance abuse to support that event.
Move to approve.
Go ahead. Motion to approve, is there a second?
Second.
We have a motion approved by Commissioner McDaniel, second by Commissioner Elamine. I do have a couple of discussion issues and questions. I asked these last week and did a little follow-up. While we may have dollars that are federal dollars going in different, in different directions, but it's an important event to have actually an opportunity for anyone in the public to learn from a number of providers what's available in terms of opioid treatment and abuse. I guess that is very important, very good activity. However, it's a 3-hour event, and I see absolutely no reason to spend $10,000 on this event. And that includes a number of things that we have a copy of the budget, looking at from T-shirts to $2,000 to rent a sound system. I think the county needs to buy one. We ought to have one available. I mean, there's a lot of costs. There's bands and entertainment costs that are a piece of this, and I'm in favor of the event, but I would certainly support a lower budget for this item. And maybe if we'll certainly take action on is there any other discussion?
Well, the discussion that I would like to have is that, he's provided a budget here, and I'm hopeful that in this budget, like any other thing that we do in terms of the vendors that we've asked for, at least 3, and we're getting the most equitable cost allowed for that. I don't know that why we always have the systemic problem with some organizations relative to support. We don't do this for anybody else. They use wristbands and T-shirts for most any other event, so I don't understand, why we're kind of tick-tocking this, so I'm in favor of moving forward.
Any other discussion?
I would just like to say I plan to support this. I would, however, like for us, since it is being funded by Forsyth County, I would like for next year for Forsyth County to be in charge of the budget and whatnot. And I still certainly want the sheriff to be, I want it to be Forsyth County and Forsyth County Sheriff. I think this is money well spent. Lord knows we have got to do something about this problem, and we cannot keep talking about it without spending some money to do something about it. So I will support it, but however, I would like to see it changed next year. Thank you.
Mr. Vice Chair, just one comment, please. Last time this project was held, Chairman Palila and myself were participants, and If we impact one person's life, to me, it's worth the investment. And we have a lot of issues in our county with mental health, drugs, not to mention gangs. So this $10,000 investment to me is like a drop in the bucket when you compare the benefit it can do for one person in our community. So I support it 100%.
Any other comments? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, please say no. No. I think it carried 6-1.
Agenda item 7 is amendment to the fiscal year 2022-23 budget. It appropriates additional Winston-Salem Foundation grant funds to North Carolina Cooperative Extension. This is essentially rolling over unspent funds from a previous grant of $2,461.
Move to approve.
A motion approved by Commissioner Elamine, second? Second by Commissioner McDaniel. Any discussion? All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries unanimously.
Agenda item 8 is amendment to the fiscal year 2022-23 budget. It appropriates fund balance to transfer to the Emergency Telephone System Fund to account for ineligible expenditures in fiscal year 2021. And then you've got an amendment to the Emergency Telephone System to accept that transfer. The amount in question, to correct this, is $10,915.19.
Their motion.
Move to approve.
Second.
Motion approved by Commissioner Elamine, second by Chairman Plyler. Any discussion? All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries unanimously.
Agenda item 9 is an amendment to the fiscal year 2022-23 budget ordinance that appropriates supplemental links allocation to the Forsyth County Department of Social Services. It's $21,000 in total. It is a foster care independence program, funds school uniforms and clothing. It would be $500 per youth within the program.
Move to approve.
Second.
Approved by Commissioner Elamine, second by both Commissioner McDaniel and Chairman Plyler. Any discussion? All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries unanimously.
All right, agenda item 10 is an amendment to the fiscal year 2022-23 budget ordinance that appropriates remaining 2020 Edward Byrne Memorial Justice Assistant Grant, or JAG funds. The amount of question is $36,949.
Move to approve.
Motion approved by Chairman Plyler, second by Commissioner Elamine. Any discussion? All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries unanimously.
All right, agenda item 11 is a resolution authorizing the submission of an application to the Appalachian Regional Commission to apply for and accept, if awarded, a $50,000 Inspire Initiative grant to plan a recovery to work employer credential program. The $50,000 will be matched by some PTRC funds and some in-kind funds of $30,240. It provides employers a framework for implementing a recovery inclusive workplace.
Move to approve.
Second.
Motion approved by Commissioner Elamine, second by Chairman Plyler. Any discussion? All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries unanimously.
Got a couple of contracts. You got a resolution awarding a contract for the purchase of 2 Ford Explorers in the amount of $28,417 each.
Move approval.
Motion approved by
Second.
Commissioner Wisenhunt, second by Chairman Plyler. Any discussion? All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Motion carries unanimously.
All right. Item 13 is an amendments to the franchise ordinance agreement for residential and small business solid waste collection, transportation, and disposal services, adding optional recycling in unincorporated areas in Forsyth County. This essentially passes along the $1 increase in the tipping fee. It equates to a 9 cents per month impact to the customers of the franchise.
Move to approve.
Second.
Motion approved by Commissioner Elamine, second by Chairman Plyler. Any discussion? All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries unanimously.
Got 2 property matters. I think you can take 14 and 15 together. They are resolutions accepting bid and authorizing execution of timber deeds for property at Horizons Park and then also on Doral Drive up in the Tobaccoville area. The warehouser was the high bidder on both. The Horizons property would generate $74,908 in revenue, and then the Doral property is $38,892.76.
Move approval.
Motion approved by Commissioner Wisenhunt, second by Commissioner Linville. Any discussion?
Mr. Vice Chair, to speak, Mr. Attorney, I wrote a timber deed, took about 3 or 4 years ago, and I wrote it on 3 pages, so apparently I left out something.
I'm sure you didn't. We were probably too wordy.
No comments. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries unanimously.
I'm kind of curious how much he sold his timber for after. I just want to know the truth. Knowing Commissioner Linville is a pile of money, but anyway. Okay. You got one appointment. It's a joint appointment to the City County Planning Board, and there's a letter from the mayor with respect to that. That would appoint Salvador N. Patino to that position.
Second.
Move to approve first.
We have a motion approved by Commissioner Lamine, second by Chairman Plyler. Any discussion? All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Motion carries unanimously.
All right. You got three tax matters. The first one is a resolution authorizing quantum root payment to Turner Business Appraisers Incorporated for business personal property auditing and audit appeal defense services that were provided back in 2021-22. As you know, those things take some time. Sometimes there's some invoices that cross boundaries. It would allow payment of a $1,920 services invoice to them.
Move approval.
Motion approved by
Second.
Commissioner Wizenhut, second by Chairman Plyler. Any discussion? All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries unanimously.
You've got two refunds by the tax assessor collector in the amount of $16,242.07, which is North Carolina Vehicle Tax System, and then another one in $12,926.59. It'd be item 18 and 19 together.
Move approval.
Motion approved by Chairman Plyler,
Second.
second by Commissioner Lamine. Any discussion? All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries unanimously.
Item 20 is an adjustment to Forsyth County Code Ordinance revising Chapter 10 of the Forsyth County Code entitled Fire Prevention and Protection. Gordon, do you want to, there was one minor change, I think, from last Thursday to now.
Thank you, Mr. Manager. There was a minor change as we discussed last week. I hope you've received a copy of the proposed revision. I've just added the second to the last sentence has been added. It says, for the purpose of this section, a dwelling with combustible material no lower than 10 feet above ground level shall not be considered to be a dwelling with combustible exterior. That addresses a point that was made by the fire marshal last week that if you have, for example, brick for the first 10 feet of an apartment building, that would not be considered to be combustible. So you would be allowed to have pine straw right up to the edge of that. And so because that was his interpretation, and that was also the interpretation of other jurisdictions that have approved this, I just added that sentence for clarification. And then I just put the date that it will be effective August 25th, 2023. So there'll be a year for people to be informed about this before it actually takes effect.
Is there a motion?
Move to approve.
Motion approved by Commissioner Elamine.
Second.
Second by Chairman Plyler. Any discussion?
Let me just add, we do have a representative from the Property Managers Association here. Did you want to make any comments related to this? Pardon me? Okay.
Yes.
Good afternoon. My name is Amanda Williams with BSC Holdings and the Piedmont Triad Apartment Association. We have been working with the fire marshals on this ordinance now for probably about 2 or 3 years. They brought it to our attention when they originally were talking about making this change. And we represent over 80,000 apartment units in the Piedmont Triad. Most of the large apartment communities you guys are familiar with are members of our association. We had lots of discussions about this, and I really believe that this ordinance is the best for everybody. Yes, there's a little bit of cost increase, but the way that they've structured it and the time that they've given us is absolutely great. I know there was a question of, do you expect that the cost will increase to the renter? Honestly, I think the way that they've allowed us to do it, no, it would be so minimal. They're allowing us to leave the existing pine straw and put mulch over top of it. That's a huge cost savings because if you have to get a landscaper to pull that pine straw, that's where the big cost is. Yeah, there's a little cost difference between the pine needles and the mulch, but mulch lasts longer. And the better part about this is it's just up against the buildings. So, you know, if you've got a common area, you can put pine straw in there. And that's fine. So there's still a lot of cost savings to this. So from a landlord, we have a bunch of units here in Forsyth County. I am absolutely in favor of this. it absolutely stops the smoking issues that cause the fires here in Forsyth County. So I think the time frame should give enough folks time to comply. Yeah, there will be some apartment communities that may not be happy about this, but I think at the end of the day, when they understand this, that, you know, you've given the time, you guys have been more than willing to compromise on the cost, I think it will be a good long-term solution for everybody. And I'm happy to answer any questions you guys may have.
Yes, Amanda, I do have a question. So I heard, thank you for being here to answer that question. And I was the one that had the question relative to the offset cost to the renter. And you said that it would be minimum. So what is the minimum amount? What would that look like?
It honestly, it would depend on the size of the community. If you're talking a large community, which most of your communities in Forsyth County are probably 200 units up, wouldn't even be a cost, should not be a cost spread to them. Now, if you're talking about, you know, a small community that maybe has 20 or 30 some units, then maybe there might be a slight cost, but honestly, I hate to say, we've seen cost increases everywhere, right? In everything we do, and the property taxes and the insurance have been the biggest increases for us.
Okay.
You know, so I really think as landlords, we try to do everything to not pass the cost if we can, and if this is another thing that we can just try to figure out how to not pass, we're certainly going to do that.
Yeah, and I represent District A, where most of those individuals probably are renters and already on fixed income and dealing with the increased cost and having to come up with 3 times the amount of their salaries, all of that. So if there's a consideration for there to be no increased cost for them, I would like for that to be a consideration.
And I will tell you, as an association, we are beyond aware of that because, you know, these are folks and this is their home, right? We don't want to increase costs if we don't have to. Okay. But unfortunately, we've all tried, and there's a point now that we're having to. But we would definitely encourage you to have conversation with us so that we can partner together to figure out how to make this work for everybody. We are all about housing affordability. So would love to have these conversations further.
Thank you, Amanda.
Mr. Vice Chairman, question to the fire marshal. If what's already in place, and some of them uses mulch, some uses pine needles, from one year to the next, don't the pine needles, they deteriorate quite a bit. So if they pull the mulch on top of that, they wouldn't have to remove what is there, would they?
No, because you're right, it consumes down, so putting the mulch on top of it, it makes sense for us.
Well, that being the case, I don't much believe that there will be much increase for the apartment owners if you do that, because, well, I don't know whether which costs the most, the pine needles or the mulch, but I know it's a lot of mulch used, so if that'd be reasonable if they do it that way. They don't have to remove it, and so therefore labor is saved.
Right.
Question.
It's good. Are we prepared to vote? Yeah. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries unanimously.
All right. You've got one report. Item 21 is a notice of residual petroleum at the airport. Just a report to share with you from the Airport Commission.
Move for approval.
Motion approved by Commissioner Limble, second by Commissioner Elamine. Any discussion? All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries unanimously.
All right. You got 3 added items that came on as we started this cycle. Item 22 is a resolution awarding contract for the purchase of 17 Dodge Charger pursuit vehicles. You heard last week that a previous order got canceled. This is through the North Carolina Sheriff's Association at 17 vehicles, $535,279.
Is there a motion?
Move to approve.
Second. Approved by Commissioner Elamine, second by Chairman Plyler. Any discussion? All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries unanimously.
All right. Item 23 is a resolution approving the use of 6 Deadline County vehicles by the Forsyth County Sheriff's Office for pursuit intervention technique training.
Move to approve.
Motion approved by Commissioner McDaniel, second by Commissioner Plyler. Any discussion? All in favor, please say aye. Aye. All opposed? Motion carries unanimously.
And item 24, you got a resolution supporting the Operation Green Light for veterans in Forsyth County, North Carolina, which will be the week of November 7th through the 13th, and we will light up our buildings green.
Move approval.
Second.
Approved by Commissioner Wizenhut, second by Commissioner McDaniel. Any discussion?
Go ahead. Go ahead with the item. I had something after we finished.
All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries unanimously.
Now, Mr. Vice Chairman.
Sure.
Before we adjourn this, I want to attempt to clear something in regard to this zoning matter. Either me or Chris Murphy was saying that one of the questions I asked was wrong. Now, I'll admit it's a possibility that I've misinterpreted, but I want Chris to answer the question, and he'll answer it the same way that he did earlier. And I had talked to him earlier today, and one of the questions that I had was, because he did go over that last week, and I didn't clearly understand it, so I took the time to study it, and I thought I was right, so I called him and asked him. And the question is the same thing I asked him earlier in his presentation in regard to the Yadkin River Zone. The credits from that were no more than what the current zone was.
That's correct. In other words, the number of units allowed under the base YR zoning are the same number that they're taking credit for on the rezoning request that was approved earlier by the county commissioners. It's a one-to-one relationship.
Well, the point I'm making is it was Mr. Miller, after he wouldn't question me directly, I guess, but either one or the other, if I was either accused of being wrong or Chris, and it just needed to be clear because the gentleman said that it would be double the credits, and it is not. They could build, currently under the acres, they could build approximately
50.
Before this
I want to say
changed,
it's around
about
57. Yeah, 57 to 60, somewhere in there, depending on
so
170,
that is
180
what
acres.
credits they got, and I just wanted to clear it up. I don't care about being accused of being wrong, but for somebody to get close to saying you're deliberately wrong, that's a little bit harder for me to take. So I just wanted that to be clear.
Okay.
Mr. Vice Chair, can I have a point of privilege, please?
Sure.
Today is a very distinguished day because we have a colleague among us, Richard Limble, whose birthday it is today. So happy birthday. Happy birthday, and happy birthday again, Richard.
Be 2 more days. Thank you anyway.
How far away are you from 100?
Well, I'll just say I'm 7.4, so that'd be 26, wouldn't it?
There you go.
Is that right?
Yes.
May I
Mr.
follow up
Martin
on?
can correct that, because he's a mathematician if I'm wrong.
You're right on the money.
But that'd be a milestone to get to, I'll tell you that.
May I follow up on Commissioner Linville's comments? I thought on the whole, this zoning issue was volatile in anybody's language, and I thought the majority of those who spoke against it were thoughtful and received it in a manner that was disappointing, but as far as they were concerned, but I think they had treated it correctly, and frankly speaking, I think that they could be trusted to keep an eye on what's going on in this particular zoning case. They're all very interested in it, and I think their expressions of they'd like to watch this thing unfold probably is the best thing we could have hoped for today. But I was really impressed with the way the 100% of those who spoke in opposition.
Mr. Chairman.
Yes, sir.
I move we adjourn.
Commissioner Kaplan has moved we adjourn. Mr. Martin, what do you think?
I'm going to second that motion.
Okay. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.